Hello, everybody, welcome. What a psych investigator? Everybody, welcome. What a psych investigator? So, so let's do the protection. There's a lot to discuss today. I'd like to ask for protection, a beautiful ray of light coming on top of my head as I breathe in. I feel my lungs as I breathe out. I create a circle. I step into it. I feel protected. I feel connected. I'd like to ask that information come only from the highest sources, that it create the good and only the good, and so it is. Okay. So I am going to address the question that was asked about Trump's members of the Trump administration moving into military bases. So let me share the article that has the information about that. So Trump officials move into military residences in the DC area. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth moved into a home at Fort McNair, traditionally reserved for the Army's Vice Chief of Staff. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and others also now live in military housing. So, okay, now so let's just look into that because obviously it's not a coincidence, right? There's some kind of plan, something related to this. So, what is it? What is behind what is the reason here? So it's what I think we all suspected, right? Trump has these plans to kind of they want to turn the country into this like authoritarian, permanent at war regime against its own population. So if they are inside a military base, they feel like they can attack, but nobody can attack them because they're the most protected, right? So wow, it's honestly, and guys, I talk a lot about this to not be afraid and not just this is their vision, right? What they want to do doesn't mean it will happen. But what I see is this image of dark clouds and then helicopters on top of them, and like as if it's all dark, like a war thing, war zone type of like America at all, like 24/7. And they're just it's like attacking us. And I've said this before, the vision is a bit like what's his name, but the Syrian dictator did in Syria, where he attacked the areas of that where people were protesting against him with chemical whatever, there that's just, and then it's a very dystopian, very dark goal. And that's why now that's their agenda. It's because they're afraid, they don't like to see how unliked they are. They don't like protest. They don't like any of this. But again, it's about them getting some kind of protection that they want, right? Protection because they are doing shady things. The plan is to do shady things. Okay. All right. Now, so what is going to happen? The question is, what is going to happen? And by the way, I'm going to do, not right now, but I'm going to do more vision questions and answers, and then I'm going to go to the cards. So lately, I've been adding timestamps to all the videos. So if you don't want to, if it gets to that, you can stop watching or you can skip. There's nothing, the cards is always the last, going to be the last of the video, but just let you know. So what happens, what is going to happen with their plan as are they going to try to, as they try, because clearly it's a beginning, right? They are moving these people in there. What is going to happen? What is the next step for them? I see that they have these dates like a is it clipboards? Names. Go with this, each person go to this and this. And then, but they don't want to move. A lot of them don't want to move because they're very well. A lot of them are really wealthy. They don't want to go on to these places. to protect themselves. Okay, and then what? And then, it's interesting. I see Besant for some reason, and it has nothing to do with military, right? But he's saying that he's not, doesn't want to do it. And it has to do with their plans to collapse the financial system. So he's like, oh, it's not quite what I wanted. If you ever see him, oh, it's not true at all. It's not true at all. No, no, no. Oh, and it's, the BS that they engage in is really, it's quite remarkable. But okay, so tell me what happens. Then okay, I see them trying to, the ones that are in the military bases will stay, and then I see them trying to press these buttons. The buttons don't work. And then the generals come from hiding and say, too bad you were talking to Russia, huh? And they play the audios like, here's you talking to this and that person. Well, we're here to defend enemies, foreign and domestic. And in a way, I know I've said this before, and it may be hard for some people to see it because it's like essentially a massive psyops and gaslighting into us believing that we have no power, right? So I see that what happens is they are already in some ways imprisoned, right? Because they're surrounded by the military and they cannot escape us. I was like, so so this is that. And so what will they try? I still, guys, it's saying it shows me um what's the word? False flag attack one and an attack on the main blue states. And to say they're going to claim that we are terrorists or whatever. So, but it's not going to work because the momentum for this is really not there. And they're also cowardly people. So, does it make sense? It's all very theoretical, but when push comes to shove, I think I still see them pushing the buttons, but it may not work out. Definitely not the way they think it will. And I see that by the time they start to putting these plans into place, the whole thing is functioning by, in a very bare bones way. There is no, it's very chaotic. The administration is showing that, and they have been stopped in many ways, legally and otherwise. And so it's going to be a last ditch effort, but I feel like it may not actually work. So I have a question here. Is there something we should be concerned about? It's saying they will push forward because their dream is to have this country that is like under lock. How do you say it? Like, what is it? You know, uh, where you can't leave your house after a certain time. They want to put they want to put the citizens, uh, like to basically put citizens in their homes as if they were in prison and they can't leave and they need permission to do everything so that they have this fantasy to have total control over the population. But think about how many, there's hundreds of 330 million people in this country. They think they're just going to do that. It's not going to work because this really goes against their libertarian principles, right? Because if you fire everybody and you have a tiny government, because that's their libertarian dream, how are you going to find people to control the population like that, right? It doesn't, they're so stupid and it doesn't work. It really does not work. And increasingly, it becomes obvious how it does not work at all. So, so does it make sense? It's like it really feels like a bad sci-fi movie from the 50s or 60s where like they want to put the people in, like I said, the house arrests for everybody, and like in their minds, they think that people, once that happens, they would just be like, oh yeah, no, don't worry, we'll do everything you want. That's like, and this is why, and in a weird way, the AI bubble thing with the overvaluation, right? We know that we see every day there's news of companies laying off people and all kinds of things, and the tariffs making everything more expensive. But the stock market is doing great. Yeah, uh-huh. The stock market is doing great, and all the spending goes into that. It has to do with these companies, it has to do with AI, and nothing. There's no real massive improvement in all of these things. They make claims that are not true, right? They make claims that are highly exaggerate everything. And the point of it, even though the technology, like it happened in the internet bubble, the dot-com bubble in 2000, there's applications for it, but it's not nearly as costly as they're making it to be. So it, in a weird way, it's very connected to the administration because the administration is about creating everything is a facade. They're not really accomplishing things. They're creating a facade. And this shows me Elon Musk, although Elon Musk did succeed in betraying the country, stealing our data and such, but it shows me that he will be taken care of later. But the point is like this is that. And as it gets to at some point, this is not going to be sustainable, and we're very close to it. And the thing that is not sustainable is the BSing. Everything, it's the time of like the great era of grift and BS, right? Everything is BS when you think about it. Like, oh, this, like, oh, everything is so great. No, it's not. It's not. So it tells me here it's the economy is stupid. In the end, that will make things collapse because nobody is that dumb. I don't care if you're left, right, whatever, right? You see what's happening. It's not that great. And by the way, I was reading. I told you now I subscribe to the Wall Street Journal online, to keep up with the news, also for the channel. But there was this article about how there's so many. There have never been as many wealthy people in New York, and how the life is so expensive. But there's a lot of them, right? And yet we have the difference between the very rich and the very poor is massive. It has never, maybe around the time of the Great Depression, it was like this. But you see that there's this split in the reality that people live in this, the big bubble of froth and like everybody else, right? So so this is all very fascinating. And so I think that as we progress into the final collapse, this is what's happening. And then also, I met up a friend, someone who's also in this, let's say broadly speaking, in this community. She is also an astrologer, among other things, but she said that in February, she was talking about the video I did yesterday about J.D. Vance and his wife and Erica Kirk, and how I connected to the date of the Brazilian Carnival that has to end by Ash Wednesday, which I think is February 17th. So she said that there's some kind of a Saturn Neptune wall, she said, that will make all the things that are illusions and pretense and falseness, imposters and such. All of this will collapse. So everything that was built on a shaky foundation is bound to collapse, including this government, which I think it's all like a circus in a way, right? It's carnival in that sense that it's like people put on costumes and pretend to be something they're not. And we talked about JD Vance yesterday. JD Vance is a really perfect example of that, right? So so this is that. And I see that they will try, right? It's not like it's a shock to any of us here, like, oh, they want to attack the population. Yes, they do. And remember when they did the meeting with the military in that theater, and they took pictures. The point of it is to say that, oh, we're gonna go attack the cities, basically, right? And someone also people were also asking about Venezuela, and I've already done a video about this. It's a distraction, okay? And I saw that they're not going to do a ground invasion. Hardcore, no. It's all to say, oh, look there, look there, look there, okay? And they, like I said, they want to distract. They want to make the population fear. And but it's sort of that's what I feel like. It's also it's a huge psyops, psychological operation component to this. They want us to feel afraid, to feel defeated, right? And that's part of it. But I don't think it's not going to succeed in that way. I know you have to just keep the faith, but this is it. This is what we're dealing with, this theater of evil, and it's bound to collapse. I don't see us going into this much longer. And what we're seeing related to um, Jade Vance and what is the other one? and the Heritage Foundation and all that. It's because they know that Trump is not going to last that much longer, and they are fighting for power amongst themselves. I have to do it another day, but I think that the Banlon is not letting, is not going to be like, no, I'm not going to let these people take over because, again, it's the tech bro versus the old school MAGA people. So we'll see. We'll have to wait and see. So tell me again the summary of everything here. So, okay, so they're moving towards, that's right, they're moving towards an attack. End of the year, beginning of the year. It's a as it gets colder also, it's harder, right? It's the climate is colder, it's harsher. So I don't know exactly, guys, to be honest, when. When is very difficult, when they're going to do this, like the push. But they have definitely lost control over the narrative. We're not obeying, right? Even though the papers in a lot of ways are like not really discussing, they're not really going after the truth as deeply as we're seeing it. They're not going after like the files as much, right? They're not telling the truth about what's really happening, yet nobody's buying it. So think about it. When you have all of that at your disposal and yet you can't do it, it means it's not going to work. So, okay. And I do think that I said before, Russia is they're trying to distance some of them, sometimes try to distance themselves from Russia, but Russia gave them the election. And Russians are not going to, they're not going to be like, oh, okay, sure. No, they're going to go after them. So they have these people they have to deal with too. That they're going to go after them. Not just us. So it's going to be interesting. So we just have to honestly keep the faith because that's what we have, the faith. All right. So that's that. Now as usual, now I'm going to pause and then I'm going to start discussing the cards, which that were quite interesting. All right. Okay. So just one second. So I this is okay. Let me just see the question. The issue of Trump administration members living in military housing. Okay. So, so let's see here. So the beginning is here. Okay. This now we have the wealthy man. That's that's I think the Trump administration and also interestingly enough, oddly, well, it's not odd. I feel like this could actually have something to do with the Epstein situation. Okay. Because we have now, let's see, we have here, we have, look at this. This is because the position one here is the situation, right? And the second is the environment of it. And what is the environment? The child. And next to it, we have the focus. The Eight of Pentacles is the focus on it. So the environment, meaning the population, is focused on what's going on with the children, right? And here, what's interesting is that when you look at the wealthy man, the hanged man upside down, it's they're feeling like they're stuck. They want things to move on. Yet the people are looking, the focus is on the Epstein situation, right? So then we have what's hidden is this. Number three is the house, could be the White House, and worry. They're really worried. And it's also doesn't have necessarily to just mean the White House. It could also mean um, okay, number three, right? It could also mean just where they're really worried and they're worried about what they're doing, right? And they're worried about the plans over there in the White House. Now, then we have here, number four, we have Okay. Okay. Here is position four. Imprisonment. Oh no, said one of them. And that's the near future. So imprisonment, I don't know, and death upside down. Now, what's interesting is that they are, in a way, imprisonment does not have to be necessarily prison. It could mean that they feel they're stuck, right? They're in a situation they can leave. But given the context, it could be imprisonment. What's interesting is the death upside down. I feel like it's their plans to create an ending, to do whatever it is they want to do, are stopped. So they are put in prison as a means to stop the death that they were planning, right? And again, what's interesting too is that this is the near future, number four, right? And then number five here we have, oh no, no, no. Okay. All right. That's right. So yeah, guys, it's not okay. So this is the bottom. Sorry, it's not perfect, the system. But we have a worry and then a painful ending. All right. So, and I don't think it's not painful ending for us, it's for them. Look, and just let's go back here. Again, look at how bad this combination, the near future and the outcome, are really quite bad, right? Look. And so the painful ending, we have imprisonment and right in this. So it's not going to go well for them at all. That's what the cards suggest. Okay. All right. Now let's go to another. Oh, what? I don't need this. All right. So then we have here. Okay. Trump admin members living in military bases. What is their plan now? Right? Because I think we saw looked at the outcome. What is their plan is change. So in this context, it means something big. I've talked about these are Kipper cards. I just received new sets. It's the ones that I use that are usually in German, but this is a different version of that system. So big change. On top of it, we have temperance upside down. Temperance upside down is imbalance, madness, right? To create imbalance, chaos. And that's what they want. They want to create change through chaos. The next card, it's interesting, right? It's lovers. Lovers is alliances, love. They're friends. It could be okay. And then on top of it, we have the Eight of Wands upside down. Eight of Wands means a delay. Usually, if it's upright, it's something really fast, but they want to delay something, right? And what's interesting, and then go back to the cards at the bottom, change, lovers, and thief. So lovers, there would be the group of them or their alliance of thieves. Create the change for the thief alliance. Essentially, that's what they want. And then here to the on top, here we have the card at Five of Swords, which is defeat. So they essentially want to create things, create change to benefit the alliance of thieves by through chaos, delays, and defeat. Okay, so that's the plan. Now, the last question I ask here is what will stop them, which is also quite interesting. Okay. We have here the courthouse. Now, the courthouse, I was looking up the meaning just to make sure. It means essentially negotiations, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to go to the courts, but it means that there is a negotiation of some sort. And then what we have on top of it is the White House, but upside down. So there have negotiations that have to do with the White House chaos or some problems with the White House. And then to the right of that, we have pathway. Now, in this system, pathway would be the equivalent to crossroads, which is the cardinal ornament that I attribute to elections. It's also possibilities or choices, right? But I think it could be related to that. And on top of it, it's interesting because it's the hermit. Now, the hermit, I feel I am kind of an hermit, but the hermit are people that are hidden, right? They're living their lives outside of their, like you don't know who they are necessarily, but they are like doing their job. They're doing whatever it is they're doing. But in the context of the situation, it could mean that there are people that are hiding, not hiding, but they're like almost, they could be living undercover. They could be doing whatever that could come into play to help us. Does it make sense? So people that are like a bit isolated or hidden, right? And that are like focused, and they could come out and help us. It could also mean that this is also a message for us to go inward and focus on the inward path while this is all happening. Okay, but then let's go to the final. Now, what's great is the last row, the last column here is the official person. Now, you could see, obviously, it's a military man, right? And in the German set, we have Militärperson, right, which is a military person. On top of it, we have the devil upside down. Now, the devil upside down is exposed. So, again, back to the question, which is what will stop them? Negotiations about the election and the military, as they exposed what's wrong with the White House, and the devil, exposing the devil, exposing the crimes, right? So, so this is how they're stopped, right? And it's perfect because this is all about living in the military base. So, what a fantastic way to take care of them, right? To make sure that they are monitored. So I'm saying so very interesting information. Interesting information. So, okay. So this is it for now, and thanks for watching. And I want to do the next video about the mayoral election in New York because it is interesting on many levels. All right. Okay. So thank you for watching. Okay. Bye.